Former President Donald Trump appearing before a federal judge for his third arraignment on criminal charges this year.
He's accused of criminal conspiracy in his attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. So what could this mean for 2024?
Joining us live right now is Professor Wes Renfro, a political science professor at Quinnipiac University. Wes, thanks for being with us.
Good evening.
So what happened today in court? You obviously watched the coverage.
I did. So it sort of follows the script. We are in the procedural phase where both the Trump team and the prosecution are working with the magistrate to try and sort out what happens next in an incredibly complicated case. It's more complicated because the former president, has other pending cases. There's some motions about what will unfold, about what discovery will look like, and about timeline, and they will reconvene again on August 28th.
All right, and so from what you're seeing, is the indictment impacting Trump's polling numbers and how voters view him?
So we actually have a lot of data because the former president has been indicted on previous charges, and there are likely other charges coming. There have been some spikes in his polling. They haven't been, super significant. I think it's more telling that his popularity has not declined precipitously, which is what we see when other high-profile politicians have scandals of various sorts. So he sometimes went up a little bit, sometimes went down a little bit, but he hasn't really declined significantly, and he's far ahead of his Republican rivals for the nomination.
You've been in studio here before. We've been following President Trump ever since 2016. Does this just energize his base? We've heard he's not going to take part in the first debate. We're still waiting to see if that actually comes to fruition. What are your predictions? How is this going to change things?
In the short term, it's certainly good for him as he seeks the Republican nomination. It's also the case that when he's had previous legal woes, he does see huge spikes in fundraising, which he certainly needs to run the campaign and also to pay for an incredibly expensive series of legal defenses. This continues to suck oxygen out of the room. It makes it hard for the other folks who want to be the nominee to gain traction because everybody's talking about Trump. This will be the focus of discussion. It's a bigger question about how this impacts him in the general election should he be the Republican nominee, which I think is likely. But in the short term, the folks who love Trump think that he's being, prosecuted for political reasons and that this is unfair and this is the deep state. And that works really well within his narrative, and his folks, his base, are responding well to that.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight. I'm sure we'll be checking in with you throughout the political presidential season.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.